Okay, if you were with us on the earlier video, we have this boss right here. Trying not to put glare on it, but it's this boss, and we've got cracking on that aluminum boss. So that is no bueno. We're not going to be able to put a valve cover back on that. This is on the G310R. So as discussed in the prior video, this entire bearing cap has to come out, be replaced, and the bearing cap is not sold separately from the cylinder head. Cylinder heads and caps are sold as a mated pair. In fact, they're numbered. This number right here matches a number on the face of the cylinder head, so they're mated. My plan is to swap one because I don't want to have to replace the cylinder head, and the reason is very simply, I don't want to wait on a head gasket, and I don't want the pain of getting the head out of here. I've checked the workshop manual, and the head can be changed with the engine in the bike. I don't need to drop the engine, but my gosh, I got to take a load of stuff off and put a load of stuff back on to swap that head. And if I can just swap the bearing cap, I'll save myself a bunch of time. So some of you have expressed concerns about trying to swap caps when they're meant to be a mated pair to the head, so we're going to talk about that for a second. Here is our donor head. This was bought from basically a pull-apart place. I'm certain, this would have come off a wrecked bike or something of that nature. The head's in great shape, valves are in great shape. Everything about this looks good. It's got some cosmetics and aesthetics that need to clean up before I put it on my bike. But if I had to swap to this head, I'd be happy with it. The valves are in real good shape. Everything looks good. They've cleaned it up. No carbon, no nothing. But what I want to do is successfully swap this cap, and so dealing with the concerns that I naturally had, and many of you have brought up about these being a mated pair, is can you do it? So here we are. First things first, we are going to take a torque wrench, torque everything to spec on this existing bearing cap, and then between our bore gauges, our micrometers, we are going to study the existing cap and understand this cap on this head precisely to the thousandths of an inch. What are all of these diameters and dimensions? We're going to figure that out. Now, in theory, since I'm asking myself whether a cap can be moved from one head to another, I should be able to test this theory on either head, right? So it's easier to work here on the workbench. So what I'm going to do is pull the cap off my bike. After I've done all my measurements on this cap, I'm going to move my cap over here, torque my cap down to spec on this head, and then we're just going to verify. What are the differences in the dimensions between my cap on this head versus their cap on this head? And if we discover at the end of the day that there are no differences outside of design tolerance, then you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this cap back on my bike and go from there. And then we'll have a full spare head in stock if that works out. So bore gauges will get us some very, very accurate measurements in use along with the micrometers. We will know exactly what the dimensions are in how these bores sit, and we can compare cap to cap. That's the plan. All right, first order of business is going to be verifying torque on our donor cap. So 12 Newton meter at the chain guide and 15 Newton meters on the cap itself, and we'll work in this tightening sequence. I apologize I don't have enough hands here to work with, but We've just completed the torque sequence and everything now is sitting at proper torque. We can start to measure. Okay, we've got our bore gauge in there and we are hands-free on the bore gauge, and the bore gauge is holding itself. If we see this, that is the feeling we want on the bore gauge, to be certain that we've grabbed that true internal diameter, and I'm confident that we're there. Okay, we've transferred our bore gauge over to our micrometer and recorded those findings. Next up on our donor, we are going to look at these grooves where the cam rides, and if I take 32 thousandths, you know, I can ride that groove up and down nice and smooth. I'm doing this one-handed right now, but trust me, when I was doing this two-handed, it's just a nice smooth ride through that groove, up and down, up and down. Now if I go to 35 thousandths, that's not the same. It's a tighter, it's binding. I can't, it binds up on me, so I can't get this nice smooth sweep that I get with 32 thousandths. So going by feel, I'm going to call these grooves 32 thousandths on the donor. Okay, we've got my cam cap out, and the eagle-eyed among you in the first video on this will have noticed we had an unaccounted for piece of metal. I've been waiting to get this cam cap out to find that metal, and there she is. Pretty good thing that didn't interfere with my valve train. And if you follow me closely, you'll know why I'm curious if this has anything to do with the little tick I developed. Alright, I'm not gonna get lucky enough to find enough magnetic property there to pull it, expected with aluminum, but I will get that out of there with a different tool. Okay, donor cap already measured, original cap about to be measured, and I did the first measurement offline, and I'm already a little enthused by it. So same as with our donor cap, 3.5 will go in this slot, but it binds up in this slot. You can't smoothly drag it. It hangs up. When I go to a 3.2, again, I'm doing this one-handed, so it's not as smooth as when I have one hand holding the block down, but the 3.2, again, is the right feel for that slot. The 3.5 is tight. It binds up in there. I can't really flow with it. So that is exactly like the donor cap in the way that feels. So who cares if it's 32 thousandths or 33 thousandths or 31.2 thousandths? I don't care. What I care about is it feels exactly like the other piece. So that's good news. We're gonna slap this on the donor head. We are going to torque down all of our screws, and then we are going to measure these bores to see if they look like the bores on the donor cap. Okay, offline, I have laid the original cap and the donor cap side by side. And I mean, some of you guys are going to scoff because, yeah, it's not thousandths, but it is 0.5 millimeter scale. And I did a bunch of different measurements all around, a lot of different dimensions with that. Happy with everything I saw. Now we have torqued this all down according to the torque sequence, exactly how we did the other cap. And we are going to test the bores right now, moment of truth. All right, here we go with the left side bores. And you know, I never showed you guys the measurement on the right side bore on the first time. I was going too fast, but man, that feels good right there. So I'm gonna mic it to be certain that it didn't move, but I don't know why it would move. It's locked. Yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit more work here on the left side. Mic it, right side, mic it. Feeling pretty good right now. So the mic was sitting here locked from before, just like the bore gauge was, and we're just right there. You know, we're suspended in the mic, same as we were. Yeah. And I know I didn't show you the larger bore last time, which is the left hand side of the motorcycle. But again, the bore gauge was locked after we did the last job. The micrometer was locked after we did the last job. And you can see for yourself, we are right there. I am convinced that I'm looking at equal parts machined the same way. Okay, team, so just to wrap up, the numbers and the measurements for the bore and the for the bore and the grooves on the donor and the original, to the extent that I have the tools to measure them, and to the extent that my experience and feel is accurate, these are identical parts. I've studied some other dimensions other than what shows there. I feel very confident about this, and you know, all we're dealing with is the hold and alignment and the free spin of the cam. You know, we're not dealing with oiling, other than having proper separation clearance for oiling, which again, those grooves tell me, and those bores tell me we should have the same clearances effectively for oiling. The actual oiling, you know, takes place in the head. There's not any oiling that actually, you know, takes place in the cap. So anyway, a lot of words, a lot of talking. Maybe I lost you guys forever ago, but I've done my due diligence and I feel good about swapping that cap, and it's going to be a lot easier than changing out the head. And if I tear it all to shit, I got a spare head. So we are going to find out tomorrow, next video.